Many years later, Jesus tells the story of the prodigal son that we heard Jim read just a few moments ago. It's based on a similar kind of setup of sibling conflict. But as I retell it now, consider how Jesus might be editing the story of Cain and Abel, the way he might be commenting on sibling rivalry, and instead editing that story to tell us something about the extravagant love of God. So as we heard Jim read, the story starts with a younger son who squanders his half of the inheritance until he has nothing left. It's something that would have communicated disrespect to his father, ill regard for the whole family. When he spends it all, when he has nothing left, he finds himself feeding pigs to try to get by and eating some of their food to survive. So he's in a really low place. And it's only then that he wonders, well, maybe I'd be better off if I went back to my father. Maybe he'd hire me to work on his farm. And at least then I'd have decent food to eat. And so from this kind of practical standpoint, he heads back. He's ready to humble himself before his dad and beg to be accepted back as a worker. But instead, you heard what happened. His dad rushes out to greet him with joy, puts a warm robe around him. The father even kills the best calf to celebrate his return. He has this big party. He rejoices that his son who was lost has been found, that his son who was dead is now alive. Now, when you hear it, you might think, at least in some part of your mind, what a foolish guy. He got burned once. Very likely he could get burned again. Maybe that's what the older son thinks too as he looks on, upset. To add to that, he's been here all along doing his duty, being the present son, the attentive son. But his father never killed that best calf for him. He's hurt by it, maybe the way that Cain was hurt when God receives Abel's sacrifice. Maybe he feels like he's the fool, the one who's getting overlooked and who's not doing anything about it. But again, consider how Jesus is editing Cain and Abel's story. In this story, the father doesn't favor only one son. The father doesn't banish one. But instead, he reminds the older brother that he's been there all along. The father's embrace has been there for him all along, and that there's joy in all of it. Joy in love that isn't earned or measured or fought over. That love, it's always there in all of its extravagance and all of its seeming foolishness. It's there for both of them, for the son who left, for the son who's been there all the time. Only each of them has to set something aside in order to receive it. They each have a choice in the matter. The younger son has to choose to leave his mistakes, leave his pride behind, to come back home. And the older son needs to leave something behind too. Maybe it's resentment, maybe rule following, maybe a suffocating sense of fairness. All of those things are themes that we've been talking about this Lent. To enjoy the Father's embrace, there's something that must be let go of for each of them. There's a choice that must be made, a choice to open themselves to receive the love that the Father is offering, a choice to set aside what it is that stops them from accepting that extravagance. That's true for each of us. To allow God's embrace, there's often something that we need to let go of, to release.